Many years ago, I can remember with quite vivid memory what it was like to be vulnerable for the first time. Vulnerable on a level that I never thought I ever could reach. Never writing about my sexuality in my journals as a kid, as a teenager, as a college student. Keeping this side of me at bay for as long as humanly possible. The journal entry that resulted has never produced as many tears. A guttural, just awful, yet also freeing feeling. Something that's hard to put into words. Pulling back a veil that no longer needed to be hidden anymore. Starting with myself, and then very quickly extending to God, extending to my parents, extending to my siblings, and extending further and further out like ripples in the water to other friends and other groups, other people that were in my life. This vulnerability extended to the screen as well in the forms of blogs, the form of podcasts and videos. As months turned to years, I caught more and more of the wave of vulnerability. There was something attractive in laying open my soul for all to see. But along with that, I've also experienced the wooziness, the ache of what Brene Brown calls the vulnerability hangover. Feeling like I've overshared or given something to somebody that they were never meant to handle, never meant to hold, weren't equipped to do so. There have been times in my life where I've had to reel it back in a little bit, both with people in my life and the stories I tell online. I think maturity and growth in this life looks like holding a proper balance of both. The courage to step out, the wisdom, the prudence to stand back. Never full on one or the other. But the vulnerability in community, particularly this Your Other Brothers community, has been magical. People have shared coming out stories and been encouraged to come out to people in their own lives, to tell their stories, to be open, to be real for maybe the first time in their lives. The vulnerability on the blog and in these podcasts is one thing. It's the vulnerability in our Zoom calls, in our retreats, our circles of meeting together, where so much beautiful, inspiring, incredible vulnerability comes together. And I'm convinced that as long as our community champions this value of vulnerability, that this courage, this fire will only continue to catch. The longer this journey goes, the further we grow, the more this fire burns and warms us from the inside out. In our Yobbers monthly book club, we read a book by Kurt Thompson called The Soul of Desire. And his words about this combination of vulnerability and community really speak, I think, to the essence of Yob, to this little family we've been building now for almost a decade, and hopefully for many years yet to come. Thompson writes this: "We humans in our natural state are the most vulnerable creatures on the planet. We need protection. We need covering. We are creatures who need. But the biblical view of vulnerability is not just about risk. It is also about our common nakedness being a stage for collaborative, creative possibility. This creativity emerges only when our needs make it possible for another to meet them in such a way that what we create together is more beautiful and complex than the sum of our individual selves or what we could produce on our own. We are naked, susceptible to harm, but our vulnerability is the very state that enables the greatest potential for creating something new. It is not primarily about the danger of being hurt, although that reality is present, but about fully emerging into the image of God as creators, as He also is a creator." And so, fellow sparrows, when stepping out feels like weakness, like deficiency, like defeat, as vulnerability so often does, may we be filled in our seeming emptiness, in this voluntary laying bare of our own souls. May God do a truly wondrous thing, something not just for ourselves, but for those around us too. A courage that catches fire, a valiant realness that envelops the space between us. May our obedient stepping out bring the love and support we desire, the love and support we need. And may it also embolden those still in the shadows. For in this spark, this creation of courage upon courage, something existentially more beautiful is being formed. A people, a place that looks more and more like Eden. A new nakedness that isn't shameful. A paradise where those thorns of shame go to die. May we ever remain in tune with our Lord's calls and compunctions wherever, whenever, and with whomever they lead. Always being wise in our sharing, but never letting fear solely decide our fate. May we who follow Jesus be known as a people who boast, and boast often, in our weakness, so that Christ our King, Christ our power, reigns sufficient, reigns strong, reigns with us.